You've been begging money to show up. What if money's been waiting for you to command it? Every word you speak is a money magnet or repellent. Right now, you're programming poverty or wealth. 3 phrases kill financial growth instantly. You've said at least one today. What if the only thing between you and $10,000 months is 7 words? This book rewires your mouth. Watch your bank account follow. Think about the last time you talked about money. Maybe it was this morning when you checked your balance and muttered something under your breath. Maybe it was yesterday when a friend mentioned their vacation and you said you couldn't afford it. Maybe it was last week when you saw a price tag and immediately told yourself that's too expensive. Every single one of those moments was a command you gave to the universe about what you're willing to receive. Most people think money problems are about numbers, spreadsheets, budgets, or income levels. They're not. Money problems are communication problems. You've been speaking the wrong language, and money doesn't understand begging. It doesn't respond to desperation. It doesn't show up for people who apologize for wanting it. Money responds to one thing only: certainty, command. The kind of language that doesn't ask permission but states what already is. Right now, in this moment, your bank account is a perfect reflection of every word you've spoken about money for the past 6 months. That might be uncomfortable to hear, but it's also the most liberating thing you'll ever learn. Because if your words created your current reality, different words will create a different reality. You're not broken. Your budget isn't the problem. Your words are the problem, and that means you can fix this today. The human brain processes somewhere between 20,000 and 50,000 thoughts per day. Scientists estimate that 80% of those thoughts are negative and 95% are repetitive. That means you're running the same negative program over and over, day after day, expecting different results. Your money situation isn't going to change until your money conversation changes. Not next year when you get a raise. Not when you finally launch that business. Not when someone hands you an opportunity. Right now, with the next sentence that comes out of your mouth. Here's what most people don't realize. The universe doesn't hear your intentions. It doesn't read your journal entries. It doesn't care about your vision board. The universe hears what you speak out loud, and it takes you literally. When you say I can't afford that, the universe hears a command. Keep me in a state where I can't afford things. When you say money is tight right now, you're ordering more tightness. When you say I'm broke, even as a joke, you're programming poverty into your reality. You might be thinking, this sounds too simple. You might be skeptical that changing a few words could actually change your financial situation. Good. Skepticism means you're paying attention. But let me ask you this. What has your current way of speaking about money gotten you? If you're reading this book, probably not the results you want. So what do you have to lose by trying a different approach for 30 days? The method you're about to learn isn't positive thinking. It's not affirmations that feel fake when you say them. It's not pretending you're rich when you're drowning in debt. This is about precision language. Command language. The kind of speaking that alerts your brain to opportunities you've been walking past every single day. When you change your language, you change what you notice. When you change what you notice, you change what actions you take. When you change your actions, you change your results. It's that mechanical. Think about someone you know who always seems to have money. Not someone who inherited wealth or won the lottery. Someone who generates opportunity consistently. Listen to how they talk. They don't say I can't afford it. They say that's not where I'm allocating resources right now. They don't say I'm broke. They say I'm between revenue streams. They don't say that's too expensive. They say that's not aligned with my current priorities. Notice the difference? Same reality, completely different language. And that different language creates different actions, which create different results. Your current vocabulary is keeping you poor. That's not an insult. It's an observation. Poverty language is something you learned, probably from people who loved you but didn't know any better. You inherited phrases from parents who inherited them from their parents. You absorbed language patterns from friends who were struggling. You picked up money scripts from a culture that treats wealth like it's dirty or greedy or somehow immoral. None of that is your fault, but it is your responsibility to change it. Here's the truth that changes everything. Money is already abundant. There are trillions of dollars circulating through the economy right now. People are making money in every industry, in every city, in every circumstance. The money exists. The opportunities exist. The clients exist. The resources exist. They're just not flowing to you yet because you haven't given them clear instructions on where to go. Your words are the GPS coordinates that tell money where to land. I want you to do something right now. Say this out loud, wherever you are. Money comes to me easily and frequently. Did you do it? If you didn't, that's the first problem we need to fix. If you're not willing to speak wealth out loud, you're not going to experience it in reality. If you did say it, how did it feel? Uncomfortable? Silly? Fake? That discomfort is the gap between where you are and where you're going. Every time you speak a wealth phrase that makes you uncomfortable, you're building a bridge across that gap. Let me tell you about Sarah. She came to me making $37,000 a year as a graphic designer. Frustrated because she knew she was talented but couldn't seem to break through to the next level. I asked her to record herself during client calls, and when she listened back, she was horrified. She said, "I'm sorry," 17 times in a 30-minute conversation. She said, "I know you probably can't afford this, but..." She said, "I'm just a freelancer." She said this probably isn't as good as what bigger agencies could do. She was literally talking clients out of hiring her and out of paying her well. We didn't change her portfolio. We didn't change her services. We didn't change her website. We changed her script. Instead of "I'm sorry, could you possibly," we installed, "Here's what I recommend." Instead of "I know you probably can't afford this," we installed, "The investment for this level of work is." Instead of "I'm just a freelancer," we installed, "As a specialist in brand identity." Instead of "This probably isn't as good as," we installed, "This approach will deliver measurable results." Within 60 days, Sarah signed 2 clients at $5,000 each. Not because her work got better. Her work was always good, but she finally spoke about her work in a way that let clients hear its value. 6 months later, she doubled her income. A year later, she was at $95,000 annually. Same person, same talent, different words. The words created different client responses. Different client responses created different revenue. Now let me tell you about Marcus. He was working a corporate job making $68,000 a year and wanted a raise. He'd been at the company for 4 years, consistently received good reviews. But every time raise discussions came up, he said things like, "I know budgets are tight and I don't want to be greedy, but I was hoping maybe we could discuss a small increase if that's possible." His language was apologizing for wanting to be paid fairly. His language was giving his boss every reason to say no. We rewrote his approach. Instead of "I know budgets are tight," we installed, "Based on the revenue I've generated for this department." Instead of "I don't want to be greedy," we deleted that completely because wanting fair compensation isn't greed. Instead of "I was hoping maybe," we installed, "I'm requesting a salary adjustment to $78,000. Instead of "If that's possible," we installed, "Let's discuss a timeline for implementation." Marcus went into that meeting terrified. He'd never spoken to his boss with that level of directness. But he delivered the script. And you know what happened? His boss said, "Okay, let me see what I can do." 2 weeks later, Marcus got $75,000. Not the full amount he asked for, but $13,000 more than he was making. All because he changed his language from begging to commanding. Here's what I need you to understand. Both Sarah and Marcus had the same value before they changed their language. Sarah was always a talented designer. Marcus was always a productive employee. But value that isn't communicated doesn't get compensated. Your talent doesn't matter if you speak about it like it's amateur. Your experience doesn't matter if you apologize for it. Your results don't matter if you minimize them. The market pays for value it can hear, and right now, your language is making your value inaudible. So let's start with an audit. For the next 24 hours, I want you to notice every single thing you say about money, not just direct statements like "I can't afford that." Also notice the subtle things. When someone compliments something you're wearing and you say, "Oh, this old thing," or "I got it on sale." When someone asks how business is going and you say "hanging in there" or "staying busy." When you look at a price and your first thought is "that's ridiculous." All of these are poverty signals you're broadcasting. The poverty phrases are everywhere once you start looking for them. "I'm broke." "Money doesn't grow." Each of these phrases programs a specific financial reality. When you say "I'm broke," you're identifying as a broke person. That identity dictates your decisions. Broke people don't invest in opportunities because they see themselves as lacking resources. When you say "money doesn't grow on trees," you're reinforcing scarcity. You're telling yourself money is finite, hard to get, and requires struggle. When you say rich people are greedy, you're creating subconscious resistance to wealth. Why would you pursue something you've labeled as morally wrong? Now let's look at the replacement phrases. These aren't affirmations you say robotically in the mirror. These are practical communication tools you install into everyday conversations. Instead of "I can't afford that," you say "That's not where I'm choosing to invest right now." Notice the difference. The first statement makes you a victim of circumstances. The second statement makes you the decision maker. Instead of "I'm broke," you say "I'm restructuring my cash flow." Instead of "money is tight," you say "I'm currently allocating resources towards specific priorities." Instead of "I work hard for my money," you say "money flows to me through multiple channels." This might seem subtle, but it completely shifts your orientation. Working hard implies struggle and limited capacity. You can only work so many hours. But flow implies ease and infinite capacity. Channels can multiply. Instead of "I can't catch a break," you say "I'm creating opportunities." Instead of "That's too expensive," you say "That's outside my budget parameters this month." Each of these replacements puts you back in control of the narrative. Here's the part that sounds magical but is actually just neuroscience. Your brain has something called the reticular activating system. It's the filter that determines what information gets through to your conscious awareness. Right now, your reticular activating system is tuned to poverty frequency. It's filtering for problems, scarcity, obstacles, and reasons you can't have what you want. That's why you notice high prices but not opportunities. That's why you see competition but not collaboration. That's why you focus on what's missing instead of what's possible. When you change your language, you retune that filter. When you consistently speak wealth language, your brain starts filtering for wealth evidence. You start noticing opportunities you walked past 100 times before. You start seeing money-making possibilities in conversations you previously ignored. You start recognizing resources you already have access to. The opportunities were always there. Your language just blocked you from seeing them. Let me give you a concrete example. Two people walk into the same networking event. Person A is speaking poverty language. They think networking is uncomfortable. They don't want to seem pushy. They hope maybe they'll meet someone useful. They apologize for taking up people's time. They leave after an hour without any real connections. Person B is speaking wealth language. They know networking is opportunity creation. They're excited to discover collaborations. They expect to meet valuable contacts. They ask clear questions about what people need. They leave with 3 potential clients and 2 referral partners. Same event. Same room, same people. Different language. Different results. Person A's language filtered for discomfort and scarcity. Person B's language filtered for opportunity and abundance. This is happening in every area of your life right now. Your language is determining what you see, what actions you take, and what results you get. Change the language, change everything. Now I want to address something that might be coming up for you. You might be thinking this sounds like toxic positivity. You might be worried about ignoring real financial problems or pretending everything is fine when it's not. That's not what this is. Wealth language doesn't deny reality. It reframes reality in a way that empowers action. When you're genuinely struggling financially, saying "I'm in a temporary cash flow situation" isn't denying the struggle. It's refusing to make the struggle your permanent identity. It's keeping your brain focused on solutions instead of spiraling into panic. Here's another concern that comes up. What if people think I'm arrogant or delusional if I talk about money confidently? This is a real fear, especially if you grew up in an environment where talking about money was considered rude or where ambition was discouraged. But here's the truth. The people who matter won't think you're arrogant. They'll recognize confidence and competence. The people who criticize you for speaking wealth language are usually people who are stuck in poverty language themselves. They're not your financial advisors. Their opinion doesn't pay your bills. Let's go deeper into one specific area where language destroys wealth: negotiation. Most people are terrified of negotiating because they're using the wrong script. They walk into salary discussions, client pitches, or pricing conversations with apology language. They say things like, "I know this is a lot to ask. Would you be willing to possibly consider? I don't want to overstep. If this doesn't work for you, that's totally fine." Every single one of those phrases gives the other person permission to say no or to lowball you. Negotiation language needs to be clean, direct, and non-apologetic. Instead of "I was hoping we could discuss," you say, "Let's discuss the compensation structure." Instead of "Would you be willing to possibly," you say, "The rate for this project is." Instead of "I don't want to overstep," you don't say anything because asking for fair compensation isn't overstepping. Instead of "If this doesn't work for you," you say, "Let me know if you need to discuss budget allocation with your team." The shift here is from asking permission to stating terms. You're not begging. You're not hoping. You're presenting your value and your price as facts, then allowing the other person to respond. Most people cave during silence. They make an offer, the other person pauses to think, and they immediately start backpedaling. "Oh, but I could do less, or we could work something out, or whatever works for you." That silence is where deals are won or lost. You state your terms, then you shut up. Let them respond. Don't negotiate with yourself. Here's a script you can use for client work. Based on the scope we discussed, the investment is X amount. This includes deliverables A, B, and C with completion within Y time frame. The payment structure is half upfront, half upon completion. When can we get the contract signed? Notice how that language works. It doesn't ask if they want to move forward. It assumes they do and moves to logistics. It doesn't apologize for the price. It presents it as the investment for the value received. It doesn't leave things vague. It specifies deliverables and timeline. It ends with a closing question that moves toward action. For salary negotiations, here's your script. Based on my performance over the past year, specifically results X, Y, and Z, and industry benchmarks for this role, I'm requesting an adjustment to dollar amount. This reflects the value I'm bringing to the team and aligns with market rates for my experience level. What's the process for implementing this increase? Again, notice the structure. It opens with evidence. It states the request clearly. It provides context about value and market alignment. It ends with a question that assumes approval and moves to implementation details. What if they say no? Here's where most people crumble. They accept the no, feel defeated, and go back to their desk to complain. Wealth language handles objections differently. When someone says, "We don't have budget for that," you don't say, "Oh, okay, never mind." You say, "Help me understand the budget constraints. What amount is approved for this position?" Then you listen. Maybe they say, "We can do X amount, which is lower than you wanted, but higher than you currently make." You can accept that with a timeline. I can accept X amount now with a review for the full amount at the 6-month mark. Does that work? Or maybe they genuinely can't move on salary. Then you negotiate other things: additional vacation days, professional development budget, flexible schedule, performance bonuses, equity, title change. The point is, you don't just accept the first no. You stay in the conversation. You explore options. You maintain your value while working within their constraints. This isn't being difficult. This is being professional. Companies expect negotiation. They respect it. The people who don't negotiate are the people who get lowballed repeatedly. Now let's talk about receiving language. This is where most people completely sabotage their wealth. Someone offers you an opportunity, and you say, "Oh, I don't know if I'm qualified." Someone compliments your work, and you say it was nothing. Someone tries to pay you, and you say, "Are you sure? That seems like too much." Every single one of these responses is rejection language. You're literally pushing money away. Receiving language is simple. "Thank you. I appreciate that." Someone offers you an opportunity. "Thank you. I'd love to discuss details." Someone compliments your work. "Thank you. I'm proud of how that turned out." Someone pays you. "Thank you. I appreciate your trust in my work." That's it. No deflection. No minimizing. No self-deprecation. Just clean reception. This is harder than it sounds because most of us were taught that accepting compliments or money gracefully is somehow arrogant. We were taught to be humble, which got translated into making ourselves small. But humility isn't about denying your value. Real humility is being accurate about your abilities, not understating them. If someone recognizes value in your work, agreeing with that recognition isn't arrogance. It's accuracy. Here's a practice exercise for you. For the next 7 days, every time someone gives you a compliment, money, an opportunity, or even just does something nice for you, your only response is, "Thank you." That's all. No explanations, no deflection. No, "Oh, this old thing," or "I got lucky," or "It was no big deal." Just thank you. Watch what happens. Watch how uncomfortable it is at first. Watch how that discomfort fades. Watch how people respond differently when you receive cleanly. Most people think wealth is about earning more money, but it's actually about keeping more value. If you make $10,000 but deflect compliments, minimize your wins, and apologize for your prices, you're constantly leaking value. You're telling the universe and everyone around you that you're not ready for more. Receiving language plugs those leaks. It signals that you can handle what you have, which means you're ready for more. Let's address internal dialogue now, because this is where the real battle happens. You can control what you say out loud relatively easily. You catch yourself before saying poverty phrases in public. But what about the voice in your head? The one that comments on every price tag, every bill, every financial decision. That voice is running constantly, and right now it's probably running a poverty program. The internal narrator says things like, "Of course this happened to me. I never get lucky with money. Everyone else seems to figure this out except me. Why is it so hard for me when other people make it look easy? I must be doing something wrong. Maybe I'm just not meant to be wealthy. This is the most dangerous language of all because you hear it thousands of times per day and you don't even realize it's programming you. Catching internal language requires vigilance. You have to become an observer of your own thoughts. When you notice a negative money thought, you interrupt it immediately, out loud if possible. The thought comes, I'll never be able to afford that house. You interrupt, I'm creating strategies to afford that house. The thought comes, I always mess up with money. You interrupt, I'm improving my financial decisions daily. The thought comes, this is hopeless. You interrupt, I'm solving this problem step by step. The interruption has to be immediate because thoughts become beliefs, become actions, become results. If you let the negative thought complete its cycle, it reinforces the neural pathway. If you interrupt it quickly and replace it, you start building a new pathway. This feels exhausting at first. You're interrupting yourself constantly. But after a few weeks, the interruptions become automatic. Eventually, the negative thoughts start appearing less frequently because you've weakened those pathways. One technique that works incredibly well is the flip script. Every time you catch a scarcity thought, you immediately flip it to abundance. I can't afford this becomes, how can I afford this? There's never enough becomes, there's always enough. Money is hard to make becomes money, flows to me naturally. I'm bad with money becomes, I'm learning to manage money effectively. The flip doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to redirect your brain from problem to solution. Here's something critical to understand about your internal voice. It's not actually you. It's a collection of other people's voices you've internalized. Your parents' money stress, your ex's criticism, your teacher who said you weren't good at math, your friend who said you're not business-minded, society's messages about what people like you can achieve. None of these voices are objective truth. They're just old programming, and old programming can be deleted. Imagine for a moment that you wake up tomorrow with complete financial confidence. You don't worry about money. You know it flows to you easily. You speak about wealth naturally. You make decisions from abundance instead of fear. What would you do differently? What opportunities would you pursue? What conversations would you have? What would you ask for? How would your day look different? Visualization is a powerful tool because your brain can't distinguish between vivid imagination and actual experience. When you visualize yourself speaking confidently about money, negotiating successfully, receiving opportunities with grace, your brain starts building the neural pathways for those behaviors. You're essentially practicing in a safe environment. Then, when the real situation arises, the pathway already exists. Your brain recognizes the pattern and executes it. Close your eyes for a moment. Picture yourself in a situation where you need to discuss money. Maybe it's a client call. Maybe it's a salary review. Maybe it's pricing your services. See yourself sitting or standing there with complete calm. Your shoulders are relaxed. Your voice is steady. You state your value clearly. You name your price without hesitation. The other person considers it. You wait in comfortable silence. They agree or they counteroffer. You respond with confidence. You reach an agreement that honors your worth. Notice how that feels in your body. Remember that feeling. That's the frequency you're tuning into. Run that visualization daily. Make it vivid. Include sensory details. The more real it feels, the more your brain accepts it as possible. Your brain is incredibly literal. If it never sees you succeeding, it won't know how to create success. If you constantly imagine worst-case scenarios, your brain optimizes for disaster prevention. If you regularly visualize confident money conversations, your brain optimizes for those outcomes. Let's talk about social proof and testimony now. The way you speak about your past wins determines your future wins. Most people either don't talk about their successes at all because they don't want to brag, or they downplay them so much that nobody recognizes the value. Both of these approaches sabotage your wealth. Success language is about stating facts, not bragging. Here's the difference. Bragging sounds like, I'm amazing at this, I'm better than everyone else, look how great I am. Success language sounds like, I helped client X achieve result Y using process Z. See the distinction? One is about ego. The other is about evidence. When you state measurable results, you're not bragging. You're demonstrating capability. The people who need your services want to hear evidence that you can deliver. Your testimony. Language should follow a simple structure. Client started at point A, wanted to reach point B. I implemented strategy C. They achieved result D. That's it. Clean, factual, specific. Instead of saying, I'm good at marketing, you say, I worked with company X to redesign their funnel, which increased their conversion rate from 3% to 7% over 8 weeks. Which statement is more compelling? Which one gives confidence that you can replicate results? Start collecting your wins. Keep a document where you record every positive result, every client success, every goal you hit, every problem you solve. Include numbers whenever possible, dates, percentages, dollar amounts, time frames. These become your testimony bank. When someone asks what you do, you pull from this bank. When you're pitching a client, you pull from this bank. When you're negotiating a raise, you pull from this bank. This isn't arrogance. This is professional communication. Here's what happens when you consistently share testimony language. Other people start sharing it for you. They hear you talk about results in a compelling way, and they repeat those stories to others. You worked with Sarah? Yeah. She helped some company increase their conversion rate by over 100%. Suddenly, you have ambassadors. Those ambassadors bring you referrals. Those referrals already trust you before you even speak because they've heard third-party validation. This is how wealth compounds through language. But what about when things go wrong? What do you say when you lose a client, miss a goal, have a slow month, or make a financial mistake? This is where most people spiral into poverty language. They catastrophize. They make it mean something about their identity. They broadcast their failure in ways that repel future opportunities. Setback language requires careful calibration. The wrong approach. I'm terrible at this. I knew I couldn't do it. This always happens to me. I'm a failure. Everything is falling apart. I give up. This language doesn't just describe a setback. It creates identity around failure. It programs your brain to expect more failure. It signals to others that you're unreliable or incapable. The right approach. This didn't produce the result I wanted. I'm analyzing what happened and adjusting my strategy. This is part of the learning curve. I'm implementing improvements based on this data. I'm pivoting toward a more effective approach. Notice how this language maintains agency. You're not a victim. You're not broken. You're a professional analyzing outcomes and optimizing processes. When you speak to others about setbacks, be honest but strategic. If a client asks why something didn't work, don't make excuses. Say, here's what we tried, here's what the data showed, here's what I'm adjusting. If someone asks how business is during a slow period, don't say terrible. Say, I'm in a transition phase, focusing on strategic initiatives. If you made a financial mistake, don't broadcast, I'm so stupid. Say, I made a costly error, and here's what I learned from it. The difference is framing. Setbacks happen to everyone. Wealthy people experience them just as often as everyone else. The difference is they don't let setbacks become identity. They extract lessons, make adjustments, and keep moving. Their language reflects that resilience. Your language needs to do the same. Here's a practice that's incredibly powerful for resilience: pre-scripting. Before difficult situations arise, write out the language you'll use. If I lose a client, I'll say this. If someone rejects my price, I'll say this. If I have a slow sales month, I'll say this. Having these scripts prepared means you won't default to panic language in the moment. You'll have a professional, wealth-oriented response ready. Now let's discuss teaching language, because this is how you position yourself as an authority. When you talk about money in a way that educates others, you simultaneously elevate your status and attract more opportunities. People pay premium prices to experts. They trust recommendations from teachers. They hire consultants who demonstrate deep knowledge. Your ability to articulate money concepts clearly signals expertise. Teaching language follows a pattern. Here's the problem most people face. Here's why it happens. Here's a better approach. Here's how to implement it. You're not selling. You're educating. But education builds trust, and trust converts to sales. When someone asks you about your industry, don't just say what you do. Teach them something about the common mistakes people make or the overlooked opportunities in your field. For example, if you're a financial planner, don't just say I help people with their money. Say, most people think budgeting is about restriction, but it's actually about intentional allocation. I help clients redirect money toward what matters most to them, which usually reveals they have more flexibility than they thought. Notice how that positions you as someone who understands both the technical side and the psychological side of money. That's expertise language. Teaching language also works internally. When you're making a financial decision, narrate your reasoning. I'm choosing to invest in this course because the ROI on skill development is typically 10 times the initial cost. I'm passing on this expense because it doesn't align with my current revenue goals. I'm allocating this amount to marketing because customer acquisition is my bottleneck right now. When you articulate your reasoning, you train your brain to make better decisions. You also create content you can share with others. The most powerful teaching language addresses objections before they're spoken. When you're explaining your services, you anticipate what someone might be thinking and address it. You might be wondering if this works for someone with limited budget. Here's how we structure payment plans. You might be thinking you don't have time for this. Here's why this actually saves time in the long run. By voicing and resolving objections, you demonstrate that you understand your market deeply. Let's talk about big vision language now. This is where most people choke. They can talk about incremental goals relatively comfortably, but when it comes to massive aspirations, they get quiet. They're afraid of judgment. They don't want to seem delusional. They worry about what people will think if they fail publicly, so they keep their biggest dreams private, which means those dreams stay small. Big vision language requires courage, but it also requires technique. You don't just blurt out, I'm going to make $10 million. That invites skepticism. Instead, you build the case. You show the logic. You demonstrate that you've thought it through. The structure goes, here's the problem I'm solving. Here's the market size. Here's my unique approach. Here's the revenue model. Here's the growth trajectory. When you articulate big visions with strategic backing, people take you seriously. Here's an example. Instead of saying I want to be rich someday, you say, I'm building a business that serves a specific niche with significant pain points. The market research shows 10,000 potential customers with an average transaction value of $2,000. If I capture just 5% of that market with a 15% profit margin, that's $150,000 in profit annually. I'm currently focused on customer acquisition and retention systems to reach that 5% threshold. See how different that sounds? One is a vague wish. The other is a strategic plan articulated with confidence. When you speak big visions out loud, you accomplish several things. First, you commit publicly, which increases your likelihood of follow-through. Second, you attract people who want to be part of something significant. Third, you activate your reticular activating system to spot opportunities aligned with that vision. Fourth, you start becoming the kind of person who operates at that level. Your brain needs to hear you claim big things before it believes you can achieve them. But here's the balance. You articulate big visions without attachment to timeline or specific path. You say I'm building toward X, not I will definitely achieve X by this specific date through this exact method. The first is confident and open. The second is rigid and sets you up for perceived failure if circumstances shift. Wealth language is clear about direction, but flexible about route. What about when people doubt your big vision? This happens. Family members think you're being unrealistic. Friends make jokes about your ambitions. Colleagues dismiss your ideas. Your language response determines whether their doubt infects you or bounces off. The weak response, maybe you're right. I probably am being unrealistic. I should be more practical. This response abandons your vision to maintain social comfort. The strong response, I appreciate your concern. I've done the research and I'm confident in this direction. Or simply, I hear you, but I'm committed to exploring this. You're not arguing. You're not defensive. You're just stating facts. Your vision is yours. Their doubt is theirs. You can hold both without either one changing. Here's a critical distinction. Big vision language isn't constant broadcasting. You don't need to tell every person you meet about your massive goals. That becomes exhausting and performative. Instead, you selectively share with people who are positioned to support, collaborate, or open doors. You share with people who have demonstrated they think big themselves. You share in contexts where your vision is relevant. Strategic sharing, not desperate validation seeking. Now we're going to install a daily protocol. This is the practical implementation that turns everything we've discussed from interesting concepts into actual results. The next 30 days will rewire your mouth, and that rewiring will change your financial reality. But you have to follow the system. Partial implementation gets partial results. Full commitment gets transformation. Morning language ritual. Before you check your phone, before you look at your bank account, before you interact with anyone, you speak out loud for 3 minutes. You say your wealth declarations. Money comes to me easily from multiple sources. I provide massive value and receive massive compensation. Opportunities appear daily. I make decisions from abundance. I speak with financial confidence. My income grows consistently. I attract ideal clients naturally. My words create my wealth. You add your own phrases. You say them with conviction, even if you don't fully believe them yet. This programs your brain for the day ahead. Throughout your day, you catch and flip. Every time you notice poverty language, internal or external, you flip it immediately. You said that's too expensive to yourself. You flip. That's outside my current allocation, but I'm creating ways to afford it. You thought I'm not good at this. You flip. I'm developing this skill. You started to say I can't. You flip. I'm figuring out how to. This catches you every single time your language defaults to scarcity. At first, you'll be flipping constantly. That's good. It means you're noticing the pattern. After 2 weeks, the flipping decreases because the original pattern weakens. You have 3 money conversations daily. This doesn't mean talking about your budget 3 times. It means speaking about money, value, pricing, opportunities, or wealth in some way 3 times each day. You might discuss pricing with a client. You might answer how's business going with wealth language. You might teach someone a money concept. You might share a financial win. These conversations train you to discuss money naturally and confidently. Most people avoid money conversations, which means they never develop fluency. 3 daily conversations build that fluency fast. Evening review. You take 5 minutes before bed to journal 3 wealth language wins from the day. Maybe you stated a price without apologizing. Maybe you received a compliment cleanly. Maybe you caught a scarcity thought and flipped it. Maybe you shared a testimony effectively. Maybe you asked for something without hedging. You write these wins down. This serves 2 purposes. First, it reinforces the new patterns. Second, it builds evidence that you're changing. When doubt creeps in, you have documented proof of progress. Weekly assessment. Every 7 days, you review your language patterns. What phrases are you still defaulting to? What situations trigger poverty language? What new wealth phrases have you successfully installed? Where are you seeing results from the changes? You adjust your focus based on what you discover. If you're still struggling with receiving language, that becomes your emphasis for the next week. If negotiation language is clicking, you push further into that territory. The protocol works because it's comprehensive. You're programming your subconscious in the morning. You're correcting patterns in real time throughout the day. You're building fluency through conversation practice. You're reinforcing wins in the evening. You're strategically adjusting weekly. This isn't hoping language changes someday. This is systematic installation of new. Here's what you'll notice in the first week. Discomfort. Lots of it. The wealth phrases feel fake. You'll want to revert to apologizing, minimizing, and hedging. That discomfort is the gap between your current identity and your future identity. Don't retreat from it. Move through it. Every uncomfortable wealth phrase you speak is building neural infrastructure for a new you. Week 2, you'll notice awareness. You catch yourself constantly. You realize how much poverty language you've been speaking. This can feel overwhelming. You might think I'm worse at this than I realized. That's not what's happening. You're just seeing clearly for the first time. The pattern was always there. Now you're conscious of it. Consciousness is the first step to change. Week 3, you'll experience moments of flow. Occasionally, wealth language comes out naturally. You state a price without thinking about it and realize afterwards that you didn't apologize. You receive a compliment and just say thank you. You catch a scarcity thought and flip it automatically. These moments show you that new pathways are forming. The transformation isn't complete, but it's in progress. Week 4, you'll see external results. Someone pays your full price without negotiating. A client says yes faster than usual. An opportunity appears out of nowhere. You have a financial win you can directly trace to language changes. This is when belief shifts from intellectual understanding to experiential knowing. You're not just learning about wealth language anymore. You're watching it work in your actual life. Beyond 30 days, the compounding begins. Every month you maintain wealth language, the results multiply. Not linearly, exponentially, because you're not just making more money. You're becoming someone who speaks about money differently, which means you make different decisions, which means you take different actions, which means you create different opportunities. The language becomes your identity. The identity creates your reality, but let's address the resistance that's probably coming up right now. A part of you is thinking, this sounds good, but I don't know if I can actually do this. That's your current identity trying to protect itself. Change is perceived as a threat by your nervous system. Your brain likes predictability. Right now, your poverty language is predictable. It's comfortable. It's known. Wealth language is unknown. Your brain is going to resist that unknown. The resistance will show up as skepticism. Does this really work? Seems too simple. What if I do this and nothing changes? That skepticism is valid to explore, but don't let it paralyze you. You've been speaking poverty language for years. It's definitely produced results. Broke results. So you know language creates reality. The question isn't whether wealth language works. The question is whether you're willing to commit to it long enough to see results. The resistance will show up as distraction. You'll start this protocol and then suddenly you're busy. You forget to do the morning ritual. You don't have time for evening review. You're too tired for conversation practice. Notice when this happens. It's not actually about time or energy. It's your subconscious trying to maintain the familiar pattern. When you notice distraction, you recommit immediately. You do the protocol even if imperfectly. Imperfect action beats perfect inaction. The resistance will show up as rationalization. You'll think maybe wealth language works for extroverts, but I'm introverted. Maybe it works for people in sales, but I'm in a different field. Maybe it works if you're naturally confident, but I'm not. Every single one of these is an excuse. Wealth language works for anyone willing to use it. Your personality doesn't prevent you from stating value clearly. Your industry doesn't exempt you from the need to communicate effectively. Your natural confidence level is irrelevant when you're following a script. Let me be direct with you. The real question you're asking yourself right now is, am I worthy of wealth? Because if you truly believed you were, you'd implement this protocol without hesitation. The resistance isn't about whether wealth language works. It's about whether you believe you deserve the results it creates. And here's the truth. You don't have to feel worthy to act. You act first. The feeling follows. You speak wealth language before you believe you deserve wealth. The belief comes from watching your words create results. Your current financial situation doesn't disqualify you. Sarah was barely making $37,000. She still implemented the protocol. Marcus was stuck at the same salary for 4 years. He still changed his language. Your starting point doesn't matter. Your willingness to start matters. Right now, today, you can begin speaking differently. Not when you feel more confident. Not when your situation improves. Not when you have proof it works. Now, here's your immediate action step. Before you do anything else, you're going to have one wealth language conversation today. You're going to find an opportunity to speak about money, value, or opportunity in a way that reflects abundance. If someone asks how you're doing, instead of fine, you say, I'm creating some exciting opportunities. If someone mentions a price, instead of that's expensive, you say, that's premium pricing for premium value. If you're discussing your work, instead of minimizing, you state results. I helped client achieve outcome. One conversation. That's all. Not a perfect conversation. Not a life-changing conversation. Just one example of speaking wealth language out loud. Because here's what happens. You do it once, and you realize it doesn't kill you. The words come out. The world doesn't end. Maybe the other person responds positively. Maybe they don't notice anything unusual. But you prove to yourself that you can speak this way. That proof makes the second conversation easier. The second conversation makes the third easier. Before long, it's not a special event. It's just how you communicate. Tomorrow, you add the morning ritual. 3 minutes of wealth declarations. You set an alarm if you need to. You do it even if it feels ridiculous. Especially if it feels ridiculous, because that feeling means you're stretching beyond your current identity. The next day, you add catch and flip. You start noticing poverty phrases and correcting them in real time. Within a week, you're running the full protocol. Within a month, you're a different communicator. Within 6 months, your financial reality reflects that difference. Some of you are thinking you need more information before you start. You want to research this more. You want to read other books on the topic. You want to understand the complete theory before implementing. That's procrastination disguised as preparation. You have everything you need right now. You know poverty language keeps you poor. You know wealth language creates opportunities. You know the protocol. The only thing standing between you and results is your willingness to start speaking differently today. Others are thinking you need the perfect environment before you start. When life calms down, when you're less stressed, when you have more time, when your financial situation stabilizes. None of these conditions will ever arrive because life doesn't calm down. There's always stress. There's never enough time. Financial situations don't stabilize without intervention. The perfect moment is a myth. The only moment available is this one. Your words right now are creating your financial reality 12 months from now. If you keep speaking poverty, 12 months from now you'll be in the same place or worse, wondering why nothing changed. If you start speaking wealth today, 12 months from now you'll be looking back at this moment as the turning point. The day you stopped begging money to show up and started commanding it. The day you stopped hoping for opportunities and started creating them. The day you stopped apologizing for your value and started stating it clearly. Money doesn't care about your past. It doesn't care about your mistakes. It doesn't care about where you're starting from. Money cares about one thing, the frequency you're broadcasting. Right now, your words are broadcasting poverty frequency. Money can't land on that frequency. It's magnetically repelled by apology, scarcity, and doubt. When you shift to wealth frequency through consistent, intentional language, money has coordinates for where to flow. It moves toward confidence. It responds to command. It multiplies around clarity. Think about this. Every wealthy person you admire speaks differently than broke people. They don't apologize for their prices. They don't minimize their accomplishments. They don't deflect compliments. They don't talk about money like it's scarce or evil. They state value plainly. They negotiate firmly. They receive gracefully. They articulate big visions clearly. That language isn't a result of their wealth. It's the cause of their wealth. They became wealthy because they spoke wealth into existence. You have that same capability. Your mouth can generate the same results. Not through magic. Through mechanics. Through the systematic application of wealth language in place of poverty language. Through daily practice. Through uncomfortable conversations. Through catching and flipping. Through teaching and testifying. Through receiving and declaring. Through all of it, consistently, until wealth language becomes your default operating system. The transformation isn't about becoming someone else. You're not adopting a fake personality. You're removing the limiting language that's been suppressing who you actually are. Underneath all the poverty programming, there's someone who knows their value. Someone who can receive abundantly. Someone who creates opportunities naturally. Someone who discusses money with. Here's what makes this approach different from everything else you've tried. Budgets try to control money after it arrives. Investment strategies try to multiply money after you have it. Side hustles try to create more income streams. All of those are valuable, but they're downstream solutions. Wealth language is upstream. It determines whether money flows to you in the first place. It doesn't matter how good your budget is if your language repels income. It doesn't matter how smart your investments are if you speak yourself out of having anything to invest. Wealth language is the foundation everything else is built on. Once you establish that foundation, all the other strategies work better. Your budget works because you're generating more income to allocate. Your investments work because you have more capital to deploy. Your side hustle works because you communicate value effectively. But without the language foundation, you're building on sand. You might see temporary wins, but they don't compound because your words keep undermining the structure. This is why people can make more money and still feel broke. They get a raise, but their language doesn't change. They say things like, now I can finally pay off debt, or I guess this will help a little bit. That language treats the new income as solving a problem instead of creating possibility. So even though the numbers changed, their financial reality feels the same. The income goes up, but the language keeps them in scarcity mindset. They never actually experience wealth because they never speak wealth. True transformation happens when the external increase matches the internal language shift. When you get a raise and your language is, this is confirmation that my value is being recognized and it's opening capacity for further growth. When you land a client and your language is, this is how ideal clients find me naturally, and it's evidence that my positioning is working. When money arrives and your language is, of course this happened, I'm tuned to wealth frequency. That alignment between outer results and inner narrative creates sustainable change. So here's what I want you to understand as we move into the implementation phase. Everything you need is already inside you. The capability to speak wealth language. The ability to catch poverty phrases and flip them. The courage to state your value clearly. The skill to negotiate effectively. The grace to receive abundantly. It's all there. It's been there all along. The only thing that's been missing is the decision to activate it. Let me introduce you to another person who transformed through this method. Her name is Diana, and she ran a small coaching practice making about $4,000 a month. She had plenty of leads but kept losing them during discovery calls. I listened to one of her recordings and immediately spotted the problem. She would say things like, I don't know if this is right for you. I'm not sure I can help with that specific issue. Maybe you should think about it and get back to me if you're interested. She was literally coaching people out of working with her. We rebuilt her discovery call script from the ground up. Instead of, "I don't know if this is right for you," she learned to say, "Based on what you've shared, here's exactly how this program addresses your situation." Instead of, "I'm not sure I can help," she said, "I've worked with 3 other clients facing this exact challenge, and here's what we achieved together." Instead of, "Maybe you should think about it," she said, "Here are the next steps to get started. And here's why beginning this week positions you for the best results." The first call she did with the new script, she was shaking. She told me later that her voice cracked twice and she thought she sounded robotic. But the potential client said yes. Signed up right there on the call. Paid in full. $5,000. Diana nearly fell out of her chair. The second call, she was less nervous. Another yes. The third call, she started improvising around the script, making it sound more natural. Another yes. Within 2 months, she'd gone from $4,000 months to $12,000 months. Same expertise, same program, different words. What Diana learned is that scripts aren't about being fake. They're about having a reliable framework when your nervous system is activated. When you're in a high-stakes money conversation, your brain defaults to survival patterns. Those patterns are usually rooted in poverty language, because that's what kept you safe growing up. The script gives you an alternative pattern to follow until the new language becomes automatic. Let me give you the exact scripts you need for the most common money situations. These aren't suggestions. These are word-for-word templates you can use starting today. First, the pricing conversation. When someone asks how much you charge, here's what you say. The investment for this service is X dollars. That includes specific deliverable A, specific deliverable B, and specific deliverable C. Based on what you've told me about your situation, this will deliver result Y within time frame Z. What questions do you have about moving forward? Notice the structure. You state the price clearly without hedging. You immediately anchor it to value by listing deliverables. You connect those deliverables to the specific outcome they want. You assume the sale and move to questions rather than waiting for them to decide. This script works whether you're charging $500 or $50,000. The principle is the same. Price, value, outcome, next step. Second script, handling the objection that's too expensive. When someone says that's more than I expected or I can't afford that, here's your response. I understand. Let me ask you this. What's it costing you to not solve this problem? Most people haven't calculated that cost. When they do, they realize the price of the solution is actually much lower than the price of staying stuck. If this genuinely isn't the right time, I respect that. But if this is about prioritization, let's talk about what's really important here. This script does several things. It validates their concern without agreeing with it. It reframes the conversation from cost to value. It makes them calculate the opportunity cost of inaction. It gives them an out while also challenging them to examine whether this is truly about affordability or about priority. Most of the time, when someone says they can't afford something, what they mean is they haven't decided it's important enough. Your job is to help them see the importance, not to lower your price. Third script, asking for a raise. You schedule a meeting with your manager. You come prepared with documentation of your achievements. Here's what you say. Thank you for meeting with me. I want to discuss my compensation. Over the past year, I've delivered results including specific achievement A with measurable outcome, specific achievement B with measurable outcome, and specific achievement C with measurable outcome. I've researched market rates for my role and experience level, and the range is X to Y. I'm requesting an adjustment to Z amount, which reflects both my contribution and market alignment. What's the process for implementing this increase? This script is direct and evidence-based. You don't apologize. You don't minimize. You don't ask if they think you deserve it. You state facts, provide context, make a clear request, and move to logistics. If they say they need to think about it, you say, I understand. What's your timeline for a decision? You don't let it go vague. You pin down next steps. Fourth script. Responding when someone undervalues your work. Someone offers you an amount that's far below your rate. Here's what you say. I appreciate the opportunity. My rate for this type of work is X amount based on the expertise required and the value delivered. If the budget is currently set at Y amount, we have a few options. We could reduce the scope to fit the budget. We could structure a payment plan that works with your cash flow, or we could revisit this when the budget allows for the full scope. Which of those makes the most sense for your situation? This script maintains your value while offering legitimate alternatives. You're not budging on price for the same work. You're offering different work for different prices or different payment structures. This keeps you in control of the negotiation. You're the consultant offering options, not the desperate vendor begging for work. Fifth script, receiving opportunities or compliments. Someone offers you a speaking gig, a collaboration, a referral, or pays you a compliment about your work. Here's your entire response. Thank you, I'd love to discuss details. Or simply, thank you, I appreciate that. That's it. No self-deprecation. No deflection. No, oh, it was nothing. Just clean, graceful reception. Practice this until it feels natural because receiving is where most people leak massive amounts of value. Sixth script, talking about a financial setback. Someone asks how business is going and you just had a tough month. Here's what you say. I'm in a strategic repositioning phase. I'm refining my offer based on market feedback, which always precedes growth periods. Or, I'm currently focusing on high-value opportunities rather than volume, so there's a natural revenue fluctuation. Or simply, I'm in transition, which is exactly where I need to be right now. Notice that none of these responses lie. You're not pretending everything is perfect, but you're framing the situation in a way that maintains your authority and keeps your brain focused on solutions. Compare that to saying, it's been rough, I'm barely making ends meet, I don't know what I'm doing wrong. That language creates spiral. The first language creates stability. Now let's talk about the day-by-day implementation because this is where most people fail. I'm going to give you a 30-day micro-challenge system. Each day has one specific focus. You're not trying to change everything at once. You're building one brick at a time. By day 30, you have a complete structure. Here's exactly what to do each day. Day 1, recording day. Your only job today is to record yourself talking about money for 5 minutes. Talk about your current financial situation, your goals, your feelings about money, whatever comes up. Don't edit yourself. Just record. Then listen back and count how many poverty phrases you used. Don't judge yourself. Just get the baseline. Most people are shocked when they hear how negatively they speak about money. That shock is useful. It creates urgency for change. Day 2, replacement day. Take the poverty phrases you identified yesterday and write out wealth language replacements for each one. If you said I'm broke 5 times, your replacement is I'm restructuring my cash flow. If you said I can't afford it, your replacement is that's not where I'm allocating resources currently. Write these down. Put them somewhere visible. These become your go-to phrases. Day 3, morning ritual installation. Set your alarm 15 minutes earlier. Before you do anything else, speak your wealth declarations for 3 minutes. Use the phrases you wrote yesterday plus these. Money flows to me easily. I provide value and receive abundant compensation. Opportunities appear daily. I make decisions from abundance. Say them out loud even if they feel fake. You're installing new programming. The belief comes later. Day 4, catch and flip begins. Your job today is to catch yourself every time you use poverty language and immediately flip it out loud. You think that's too expensive. You say out loud, that's premium pricing for premium value. You think I can't do this. You say out loud, I'm learning how to do this. Catch and flip at least 10 times today. It will feel excessive. That's the point. You're interrupting deeply ingrained patterns. Day 5, receiving practice. Today, every time someone gives you anything, compliment, money, opportunity, help, your only response is thank you. No deflection, no minimizing, no explaining, just thank you. If someone says nice work, you say thank you, not oh, it was nothing. If someone pays you, you say thank you, not are you sure that's enough. Practice clean receiving all day. Day 6, testimony documentation. Write down every win, result, and achievement you can remember from the past year. Include numbers, dates, and specifics. Client results you facilitated, problems you solved, projects you completed, goals you hit, money you made. This becomes your testimony bank. You'll pull from this every time you need to demonstrate value. Day 7, review and adjust. Look back at your first 6 days. What was easy? What was hard? Where did you see progress? Where did you slip back? Adjust your approach based on what you learned. Maybe you need a different reminder system for catch and flip. Maybe your morning ritual needs to be shorter. Customize the system to fit your reality. Day 8, script installation for pricing. Today you're going to memorize the pricing script word for word. Write it down. Say it out loud 20 times. Visualize yourself delivering it in a real conversation. Even if you don't have a pricing conversation today, you're building the neural pathway, so when the opportunity comes, you're ready. Day 9, Reframe practice. Every negative circumstance that happens today, you're going to reframe out loud. The bill is higher than expected. This is showing me where to optimize my budget. A client cancels. This creates space for a better fit client. You make a mistake. This is valuable data for improvement. Reframe everything. Train your brain to look for the opportunity in every situation. Day 10, value articulation. Today, you're going to tell 3 people something valuable you did recently. Not bragging, just stating facts. I helped a client increase their revenue by 20%. I solved a complex problem that saved my company 3 hours per week. I created a system that improved efficiency. Practice articulating value plainly and watching how people respond. Day 11, negotiation script installation. Memorize the raise request script or the price objection script, whichever is more relevant to your situation. Say it out loud until it sounds natural. Record yourself delivering it and listen back. Adjust until you sound confident and clear. You're building muscle memory for high-stakes conversations. Day 12, gratitude inventory. Write down every financial blessing in your life right now. The money you do have, the clients you do have, the skills you've developed, the opportunities available to you, the resources you can access. Read this list out loud. Gratitude isn't just feel-good spirituality. It's retuning your reticular activating system to notice abundance instead of lack. Day 13, social proof collection. Reach out to 3 past clients or colleagues and ask them to share what it was like working with you. What results did they get? What value did you provide? What would they tell someone considering working with you? Collect these testimonials. Use them in your marketing, your pitches, your negotiations. Third-party validation carries more weight than self-promotion. Day 14, halfway assessment. You're 2 weeks in. How has your language changed? Have you noticed any external results yet? Small wins count. Someone responded to you differently. A conversation went better than expected. You felt more confident. Document these wins. They're evidence that the transformation is happening. Day 15, objection handling practice. Write down the 3 most common objections you face. That's too expensive. I need to think about it. I'm not sure this is right for me. Now write out your response to each objection using wealth language. Practice delivering these responses until they're automatic. Most people freeze when they hear objections because they don't have prepared responses. Day 16, receiving amplification. Today, you're going to ask 3 people for something. Doesn't have to be big. Ask someone to review your work. Ask for a referral. Ask for feedback. Ask for help with a project. The point is practicing the ask without apologizing. Notice how hard it is to ask clearly. Notice how people usually say yes. Train yourself that asking is normal and people want to help. Day 17, abundance broadcasting. In every conversation today, find a way to speak about abundance. Business is growing. Opportunities are multiplying. I'm excited about what I'm creating. Resources are flowing. You're not lying. You're choosing to focus language on what's expanding rather than what's contracting. Watch how this shifts the energy of every interaction. Day 18, silence practice. Today, in any negotiation or sales situation, after you state your price or make your ask, you're going to stay silent. Count to 10 if you need to. Don't fill the silence. Don't backpedal. Don't offer discounts. Just wait. Silence is where deals are won. The person who speaks first usually loses. Practice comfort with silence. Day 19, vision articulation. Write out your big financial vision, not vague hopes, specific numbers, timelines, and strategies. Then practice saying this vision out loud with confidence. I'm building a business that generates X revenue by serving Y clients with Z offer. I'm on track to reach a milestone by B date through C strategy. Say it until you believe it. Day 20, setback, script practice. Something will go wrong today or has gone wrong recently. Use your setback language script. This didn't produce the result I wanted, and here's what I'm adjusting. Say it out loud. Write it down. Send it in an email if relevant. Practice maintaining wealth language even when things aren't going perfectly. Day 21, 3-week review. You're 3 weeks into the protocol. Your language has changed significantly by now. You catch yourself more quickly. Wealth phrases come more naturally. You've had at least a few external wins. Document all of this. Celebrate progress. Then identify what you want to focus on for the final week. Day 22, teaching practice. Explain one money concept to someone today. Teach them about the relationship between language and wealth. Share something you've learned. Watch how teaching positions you as an authority. Notice how it reinforces your own learning. People who can teach a concept have mastered it. Day 23, command language. Today, every sentence you speak about money is going to be stated as fact, not hope. Not I hope to make more money. Instead, I'm increasing my income. Not I wish I could afford that. Instead, I'm creating strategies to afford that. Not maybe this will work. Instead, this is working. Command language all day. Day 24, resistance day. You've been doing this for over 3 weeks. Resistance is probably showing up. You're tired of being vigilant. You want to go back to old patterns. Expected, normal. Today you acknowledge the resistance and do the protocol anyway. This is where transformation is won or lost. Push through. Day 25, opportunity creation conversation. Today, you're going to initiate one conversation specifically to create a money opportunity. Reach out to a potential client. Ask a colleague about collaboration. Inquire about an opening at a company. Pitch an idea. The point is moving from passive to active. Wealth language becomes wealth action. Day 26, receiving capacity expansion. Someone offers you something today, or you're going to create an opportunity for someone to offer. When they do, receive it fully. If someone offers to pay you more than you expected, you say, "Thank you, I appreciate that." If someone offers you an opportunity, you say, "Thank you, let's discuss next steps." Practice receiving at. Day 27, value pricing practice. Look at something you currently offer. Your time, your product, your service. What's it priced at? Now ask yourself, if I fully believed in the value of this, what would I charge? Write that number down. That's your new price. Practice saying it out loud. You don't have to implement it immediately, but you need to get comfortable saying the number that reflects true value. Day 28, social broadcasting. Share your financial win on social media or in a group or in conversation with friends. Not to brag, to normalize talking about money. To demonstrate wealth language publicly. I landed a new client at my highest rate yet. I negotiated a raise. I reached a revenue goal. Say it plainly. Watch how people respond. Some will celebrate. Some will be silent. Both responses are fine. You're not broadcasting for approval. You're broadcasting to reinforce your new identity. Day 29, Integration Day. Today, you're reviewing everything you've learned and practiced. Read through your notes. Listen to your Day 1 recording and compare it to how you speak now. Notice the massive shift. Acknowledge how much work you've put in. Recognize that you're not the same person who started this 30 days ago. Integration means the practices become part of who you are, not something you do. Day 30, Commitment Day. The 30-day protocol is complete. Now you decide, is this a permanent change or a temporary experiment? If your language has created results and it has if you followed the protocol, then the answer is obvious. You commit to maintaining wealth language as your default operating system. You keep doing morning rituals. You keep catching and flipping. You keep having wealth conversations. You keep reviewing and adjusting. The protocol doesn't end at 30 days. It becomes your life. Now let's talk about relapse prevention because this is critical. You're going to have days where you slip back into poverty language. You're going to have situations that trigger old patterns. You're going to face rejection or setbacks that make you want to abandon wealth language and retreat to familiar scarcity. This is normal. It doesn't mean you've failed. It means you're human. The key to relapse prevention is having a recovery protocol. When you notice you've been speaking poverty language for a day or more, you don't shame yourself. You don't spiral. You don't decide the whole thing was pointless. You activate the recovery protocol. Here's what that looks like. Step 1, acknowledgement without judgment. You say to yourself, I notice I've been using poverty language. That's okay. I'm redirecting now. Not, I'm such a failure. I can't do anything right. Why do I always mess up? Just simple acknowledgement and redirection. Step 2, identify the trigger. What caused the relapse? Was it a financial setback? A difficult conversation? Stress from another area of life? Exposure to someone with strong poverty language? Understanding the trigger helps you prepare for it next time. Step 3, recommit to one practice. You don't have to restart the entire protocol perfectly. Just pick one thing. Maybe it's morning declarations. Maybe it's catch and flip. Maybe it's having one wealth conversation per day. That one practice pulls you back into alignment. Step 4, reach out for support. Tell someone you trust that you're working on wealth language and you had a setback. Ask them to check in with you. Accountability makes recommitment easier. Isolation makes relapse more likely. Step 5, review your wins. Look at the documentation of results you've already created through wealth language. Remind yourself that this works. Evidence overcomes doubt. You're not trying something unproven. You've already seen it produce results in your life. Let me tell you about James. He went through the 30-day protocol and saw incredible results. He doubled his client base. He raised his rates. He was speaking with confidence he'd never experienced. Then he lost his biggest client, not because of anything he did wrong. They had a budget cut and had to reduce vendors. James took it personally. He spiraled into poverty language. Started saying things like, "I knew this was too good to last. I must have been delusional thinking I could charge those rates. Nobody actually values what I do." Within 2 weeks, he'd lost 2 more clients. Not because his work declined, because his language changed and that shifted his energy in client conversations. He was apologizing again. He was discounting. He was desperate. Clients sense that. They respond to it by leaving or by demanding lower prices. James was creating the exact situation he feared through his language. He called me in panic. I walked him through the recovery protocol. We identified the trigger. He'd tied his entire identity to that one big client. When they left, it felt like proof he wasn't actually valuable. We challenged that belief. One client leaving because of their budget doesn't define your value. It's one data point, not a verdict on your worth. We recommitted to morning declarations. Just that one practice. For a week, James did nothing but morning declarations. Didn't try to fix everything, just spoke wealth into his day every morning. After a week, he felt stable enough to add catch and flip. After 2 weeks, he was back to full wealth language. Within a month, he'd replaced the lost clients with better fit clients at even higher rates. The relapse didn't destroy him because he had a recovery protocol. You need to understand something important. Wealth language isn't about never having negative thoughts or never facing difficulties. It's about how you respond when those things happen. Everyone faces setbacks. Everyone has rejection. Everyone deals with financial stress. The difference between people who stay stuck and people who break through is language. The language they use to process the difficulty determines whether it becomes a temporary setback or a permanent spiral. Here's another layer of relapse prevention: environmental design. You can't rely on willpower alone. You need your environment set up to support wealth language. That means curating who you spend time with. If you're constantly around people who speak poverty language, you're going to absorb it. Not because you're weak, because humans are social creatures. We mirror the language patterns of our environment. This doesn't mean you cut off everyone who struggles financially. It means you're strategic about whose voices have the most influence. You limit exposure to chronic complainers. You reduce time with people who are committed to victim mentality. You seek out people who speak about money with abundance, possibility, and strategy. You join groups or communities where wealth language is the norm. Environmental design also means controlling your media consumption. If you're watching news programs that constantly broadcast economic doom, you're programming poverty into your subconscious. If you're scrolling social media feeds full of people complaining about money, you're absorbing that frequency. You don't have to become ignorant about current events. You just need to balance input. For every negative economic report you consume 2 pieces of content about people creating wealth in the current environment. Put reminders in your physical space. Post your wealth declarations where you'll see them daily. Put a note on your bathroom mirror. Set phone alerts with wealth affirmations. Create visual cues that prompt wealth language. Every time you see the cue, you speak a wealth phrase out loud. This creates automatic pattern reinforcement. Let's go deeper on specific scenarios because knowing the general principles isn't enough. You need exact language for exact situations. Here's what to say when someone asks you to work for free or for exposure. Thank you for thinking of me. I don't currently have capacity for unpaid projects, but I'd be happy to discuss paid collaboration if that's of interest. Clean, direct, no apology. No long explanation about why you don't work for free. Here's what to say when someone asks for a discount. I understand you're working within a budget. My pricing reflects the value and expertise I bring to this work. If the current price doesn't fit, we can explore adjusting the scope, or we can revisit this when the budget allows. What makes most sense for you? You're not saying no. You're not lowering your price for the same work. You're offering options that maintain your value. Here's what to say when someone pays you a large sum and you feel uncomfortable receiving it. Thank you. I'm excited to deliver exceptional results for you. That's all. Your discomfort with receiving is your problem to manage internally, not their problem to solve by paying you less. They've agreed to the value exchange. Receive it cleanly. Here's what to say when family members criticize your financial choices. I appreciate your concern. I've thought through this decision carefully and I'm confident in this direction. You're not defending. You're not justifying. You're not arguing. You're stating facts and ending the conversation. Your financial choices don't require their approval. Here's what to say when someone asks how much money you make. That's personal information I keep private, but I'm happy to discuss my services if you're interested in working together. Or, if it's relevant to the conversation, I'm currently at X income level and building toward Y. Choose based on context and relationship. The point is you control what you disclose and you don't apologize for either choice. Here's what to say when you're comparing yourself to someone making more money than you. They're at a different stage of their journey. I'm focused on my own path and my own growth. Comparison is a poverty trap. It keeps you focused on lack instead of possibility. Wealth language redirects to personal progress. Another block, fear of judgment. You're worried what people will think when you start speaking differently. They'll notice you're more direct about money. They'll see you're not apologizing anymore. They might comment on it. Some will be supportive. Some will be uncomfortable. Some will mock you. Here's what you need to understand. Their reaction to your wealth language is information about them, not about you. People who are comfortable with wealth won't be bothered by your confidence. People who are stuck in poverty language will be triggered by it. Let them be triggered. Their discomfort is not your responsibility to manage. You're not speaking wealth language to make others comfortable. You're speaking it to create a different financial reality. If that means some relationships shift or some people pull away, that's part of the transformation. You're not for everyone. Wealth language naturally repels people who are committed to scarcity mindset. That's not a bug. It's a feature. Another block. Perfectionism. You're going to mess up. You're going to slip back into poverty language. You're going to handle a conversation poorly. You're going to say the wrong thing. Perfectionism will tell you that these mistakes mean you're failing. Not true. Mistakes mean you're practicing. Every wealthy person had thousands of imperfect money conversations before they mastered wealth language. Give yourself permission to be bad at this before you're good at it. Another block. Impatience. You want results immediately. You've been speaking wealth language for a week and you're frustrated that you're not rich yet. Language creates reality, but it doesn't create instant reality. There's a lag between when you change your words and when you see changed circumstances. That lag varies based on your situation, your industry, your current position. For some people, results show up in days. For others, it takes months. Trust the process. Keep speaking. The results will come. Let's talk about what happens after the initial transformation. You've completed the 30-day protocol. You've seen results. Your language has changed. You're making more money or getting better opportunities or feeling more confident. Now what? This is where most people plateau. They hit a new level and then maintain that level indefinitely. They don't keep growing because they stop pushing their language into new territory. Advanced wealth language means continuously expanding what you're willing to say. If you got comfortable asking for $5,000, now you practice asking for $10,000. If you got comfortable negotiating small raises, now you practice negotiating for promotion or equity. If you got comfortable talking about your income, now you practice talking about your wealth-building strategy. Each new level of wealth requires a new level of language. Here's an advanced practice. The stretch conversation. Once a month, you have a conversation that's beyond your current comfort zone. You pitch a client who seems too big for you. You ask for compensation that feels audacious. You propose a collaboration that requires you to operate at a higher level. These stretch conversations train your nervous system to handle bigger opportunities. Even if they don't result in immediate wins, they expand your capacity. Another advanced practice. Wealth language with yourself in the mirror. Stand in front of a mirror and speak your biggest financial goals out loud while maintaining eye contact with yourself. This is intensely uncomfortable. Most people can't do it for 30 seconds without looking away or laughing or making a joke. But if you can't speak your goals to your own face with conviction, you definitely can't speak them to other people with conviction. Practice until you can deliver your entire financial vision to your reflection without breaking eye contact or self-deprecating. Another advanced practice. Recording and analyzing your money conversations. Once a week, record a real money conversation. Could be a sales call, a negotiation, a pricing discussion. anything where money is the topic. Listen back with a critical ear. Count how many poverty phrases slipped in. Notice where you apologized unnecessarily. Identify where you could have been clearer or more direct. Then redo the conversation out loud, using perfect wealth language. This creates rapid improvement, because you're getting immediate feedback on your actual performance, not just your intentions. Let me give you one more detailed example. This is about Rachel, who owned a bakery. She was talented, her products were excellent, but she was barely breaking even. When I examined her language, the problem was obvious. She apologized for her prices constantly. She'd say things to customers like, "I know this is expensive for a cupcake, but the ingredients are really high quality." Or, "Sorry, I had to raise prices because my costs went up." Every transaction included an apology. We eliminated all apology language. Instead of "I know this is expensive," she learned to say, "This is made with imported Belgian chocolate and organic butter, which is why the flavor is exceptional." Instead of "Sorry, I had to raise prices," she said, "Our pricing reflects the premium ingredients and craftsmanship in every item." She stopped justifying and started stating value. But we went further. We changed how she talked about the business itself. She used to say things like, "I just have a little bakery." We installed, "I run a specialty bakery focusing on artisanal techniques and premium ingredients." She used to say, "I'm doing okay, just trying to keep the lights on." We installed, "Business is growing steadily as we build our reputation for quality." The language shift changed customer behavior. When Rachel stopped apologizing for prices, customers stopped questioning them. When she spoke about the business with pride instead of diminishment, customers treated it as a destination worth traveling for instead of a convenient stop. Within 6 months, her revenue increased 40%. She didn't change her recipes. She didn't change her location. She changed her language, and customers responded to that language with increased spending. Here's what Rachel told me later. The hardest part wasn't learning the new language. It was believing she deserved to speak that way. She felt like speaking confidently about her bakery was somehow arrogant or dishonest. She wasn't a fancy pastry chef with formal training. She was just someone who loved baking. Why should she act like her work was special? This is the core belief that blocks most people. You don't think you deserve to speak wealth language because you don't think you're special enough, talented enough, educated enough, experienced enough. You're waiting for permission from some external authority to claim your value. That permission never comes. You have to give it to yourself. And you give it to yourself by speaking as if you already have it. The permission comes through the practice of speaking, not before it. Your next 90 days of financial results are being determined by what you say in the next 90 seconds. Not what you think, not what you intend, what you actually speak out loud. Every conversation is either building wealth or destroying it. There's no neutral language. You're either commanding money or repelling it with every sentence. This is why casual comments matter. When you say, "Oh, this weather is expensive," when gas prices rise, you're programming scarcity. When you say, "Ugh, I can't believe how much they charge for that," when you see a price, you're programming poverty. When you say, "Must be nice," when someone shares good news about money, you're programming resentment. These throwaway comments accumulate. They shape your frequency. They determine what opportunities you notice and which ones you miss. Wealth language means being intentional about every single comment related to money, value, opportunity, or worth. Instead of this, "Weather is expensive," you say, "I'm optimizing my route to conserve fuel." Instead of "I can't believe how much they charge," you say, "That's positioned as premium pricing." Instead of "Must be nice," you say, "That's excellent, congratulations." Each reframe keeps you on wealth frequency. Let me give you a warning about a trap that catches many people. As you start seeing results from wealth language, you might be tempted to teach everyone around you. You'll want to help your friends speak better about money. You'll want to correct your family's poverty language. You'll want to evangelize this method. Resist that urge. You can't force transformation on anyone. They have to want it. If you push too hard, you'll damage relationships and exhaust yourself. Instead, model the behavior. Speak wealth language consistently. When people notice your results and ask what changed, then you share. When they're curious and receptive, then you teach. But unsolicited coaching usually backfires. It makes people defensive. They hear your wealth language as criticism of their poverty language, even if you don't intend it that way. Let your results do the teaching. Let your transformation inspire questions. Then answer those questions generously. Here's a practice for when you're feeling financially stressed. This is when poverty language screams the loudest. You check your account, and it's lower than you want. You get a bill you weren't expecting. A client pays late. A sale falls through. Your first instinct is panic language. This is terrible. I'm in trouble. I don't know how I'm going to make it. That language activates your sympathetic nervous system. You go into fight or flight. Your prefrontal cortex shuts down. You can't think strategically because your brain thinks you're being chased by a predator. Instead, you use the financial stress protocol. First, you speak the facts without drama. My account is at X amount. I have Y expenses due. The gap is Z dollars. Just facts, no story, no catastrophizing. Second, you speak the truth about your capability. I've solved financial challenges before. I have skills and resources. I can create solutions. Third, you speak the immediate next action. The next step is to review my receivables, reach out to 3 potential clients, and examine my budget for optimization. See how this language keeps your prefrontal cortex engaged? You're not drowning in emotion. You're moving toward solutions. Let's address digital communication because this is where a lot of wealth language breaks down. In person, you can control your speech relatively well. But in email, text, and social media, poverty language sneaks in. You write things you'd never say out loud. You hedge. You over-explain. You use excessive exclamation points to soften your directness. You apologize preemptively. Email wealth language is clean and confident. When you're sending a proposal, you don't write, "I hope this works for you. Let me know if you have any questions." No pressure at all. You write, "Here's the proposal we discussed. Review it and let me know if you need clarification on any points. I'm ready to begin once you approve." See the difference? One is hoping. One is expecting. When you're following up on payment, you don't write, "So sorry to bother you, but I was wondering if maybe you'd had a chance to process the invoice I sent." You write, "Following up on invoice number 123 sent on X date. Please confirm the payment timeline. Direct, professional. No apology for expecting to be paid for work you completed." When you're posting on social media about your business, you don't write, "Just thought I'd share this thing I made. Probably nobody cares, but here it is anyway." You write, "New service now available. This solves X problem for Y type of client. Details and comments. Confident. Clear. No self-deprecation. Review your last 10 emails. Count how many times you wrote sorry, just, maybe, possibly, hopefully, or if you don't mind." These are all hedge words. They weaken your message. They signal uncertainty. Replace them with direct language. Instead of "I'm sorry to bother you," write nothing. You're not bothering them. You're communicating professionally. Instead of just checking in, write "following up on." Instead of "maybe we could," write "let's schedule." Instead of "hopefully this works," write "this will deliver results." Now I want to address a specific population. People who grew up in poverty or in families where money was a constant stress. Your language patterns were formed in an environment of scarcity. Your nervous system learned that money discussions equal danger. This makes wealth language feel not just uncomfortable but actively threatening. Your body might physically react when you try to speak confidently about money. Tight chest, nausea, shaking. This isn't weakness. It's trauma response. If this is you, the protocol needs to be gentler. You start with lower stakes practices. Before you tackle pricing conversations with clients, you practice stating value in safe environments. With supportive friends, in a journal, in therapy, you build up slowly. You acknowledge the trauma without letting it control your future. You might need professional support alongside the language work. That's not failure. That's wisdom. But here's what's also true. You cannot heal trauma by continuing to speak the language that perpetuates it. At some point, even with support, you have to start speaking differently. You have to say things that feel scary. You have to claim value even though your body is screaming danger. You do it afraid. You do it with support. But you do it. Because staying in poverty language to avoid discomfort means staying in poverty financially. Your comfort is expensive. Your growth requires discomfort. Let me tell you about Miguel. He grew up in a household where his parents fought about money constantly. Screaming matches about bills. Anxiety around every purchase. Deep shame about asking for help. Miguel absorbed all of it. As an adult, he was paralyzed around money conversations. He'd rather take a lower offer than negotiate. He'd rather undercharge than risk rejection. He'd rather work for free than name a price. We started small. First, he practiced saying prices out loud to himself. Just getting the words out. $200, $500, $1,000. No context, no client. Just speaking numbers without panic. That took 2 weeks. Then we practiced saying, my rate is X amount. Another week. Then we practiced full pricing conversations in role play. Another week. Only then did he try it with a real client. That first real pricing conversation, Miguel called me afterward in tears. He'd done it. He'd stated his price without apologizing. The client had said yes without negotiating. Miguel couldn't believe it. For his entire life, he'd believed that asking for money would lead to conflict, rejection, or shame. This one conversation shattered that belief. Not because someone taught him the belief was false, because he experienced evidence that contradicted it. That's how transformation happens with deep-seated money trauma. You can't think your way out. You have to act your way into new evidence. Each small success rewrites the neural pathway. Each time you speak wealth language and survive, your nervous system learns that it's safe. Eventually, wealth language becomes your new normal. But you have to be willing to move through the fear to get there. Here's your final assignment as we come to the close of this audiobook. In the next 24 hours, you're going to have 3 wealth language moments. First, you're going to speak your biggest financial goal out loud to yourself. Whatever number makes you uncomfortable, that's the one. Say it clearly. I'm building toward X dollars in income. Or, I'm creating a business worth X amount. Or, I'm accumulating X amount in wealth. Say it. Feel the discomfort. Breathe through it. Second, you're going to have one money conversation today using perfect wealth language. Could be answering how's business going. Could be discussing a price. Could be negotiating something. Could be teaching someone a money concept. Whatever conversation presents itself, you're going to speak with clarity, confidence, and command. No apology. No hedging. Wealth language all the way through. Third, you're going to document your commitment. Write down, I commit to speaking wealth language for the next 90 days. I will follow the protocol. I will catch and flip poverty phrases. I will state value clearly. I will receive abundantly. I will negotiate firmly. I will persist through discomfort. Sign it. Date it. This is your contract with your future self. The transformation you're about to experience isn't magic. It's mechanics. Language shapes perception. Perception shapes decisions. Decisions shape actions. Actions shape results. You've been running poverty mechanics and getting poverty results. Now you're installing wealth mechanics. The results will reflect that change, but only if you actually implement. Only if you actually speak differently. Only if you actually commit. 6 months from now, someone is going to ask you what changed. They'll notice something different about you. The way you talk about opportunities. The ease with which you discuss money. The confidence in your voice. The results you're creating. And you'll tell them about today. The day you stopped begging money to show up and started commanding it. The day you realized your words were creating your wealth. The day you decided to speak money and watch it come. That day is today. This is your moment. Your financial transformation doesn't require luck, connections, different circumstances, or permission from anyone. It requires different words, starting right now, with whatever conversation comes next. Money is waiting for your command. It's been waiting all along. Stop begging. Stop hoping. Stop wishing. Start speaking. Speak money. Watch it come.